Hey everybody, happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing good. It is evening time, 8 o'clock at night. We are in Florida and we're going to be here for a couple of months. Yes, we're going to soak the sun. So anybody who's out there who going through pretty icy condition, I am sending you lots of love and hugs and warm kisses. Everybody happy Monday. Thank you for showing up again here at Huddle Time with Ronit. I'm super stoked to have you on the show today. We have such an amazing guest. I am super excited about it. But just before that, I want to come and just tell you and say thank you for everybody who has been on our show, diligently come every week to listen to our experts that we host every week. So for anyone who is joining us and doesn't really know me, my name is Ronit Enos, and I am the host of Huddle Time with Ronit. And every week we come here, the Americans Beauty Show, to share with you a lot of great speakers and a lot of great people in the industry and outside the industry, experts, coaches, um, a lot of great people, artists. We have so many great guests. And the purpose of that is to share with you how you can do things differently, how you can create a better life for yourself, how you can impact the world socially, personally, how you can create a better career for yourself, and how you can live this life that we're living to the max. So this week, I wanted to say that Americans Beauty Show is doing so many amazing things. So many great things are coming. Our show in September is going to be very special. It's going to be all based on education, and you don't want to miss that. We also are having the marketplace. Man, if you don't know anything about the marketplace, you better buy our membership so you can know everything about that and you can be part of it. Come and join the club. Huddle Time is every week here, but there's so much to see and do with Americans Beauty Show. We have great educator and a lot of great knowledge that that it's good to know. Now with that, as you know, I am the owner of and the founder of Salon Cadence. Salon Cadence is a high-end teaching and training company that helps salon. That was my husband knocking the door, as you can hear in the background. Yeah, this is the beauty of doing Zoom Huddle Time on stream, right? But yeah, so Salon Cadence is a teaching and training company. We coach and help many salon owners achieve their success in their salons. Now, with all of that, I want to share with you a great guest that I have today. She's a really great friend. Her name is Kari Schwear. And I have to make sure that you know it's Schwear. And Kari is really unique in her coaching. She is a gray area discovery coach. A gray area discovery coach. Can you even? She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a life coach. She coaches many companies, many executives, but she coaches people like you and me. And she directly speaks on the gray area. So I can't wait to share with you Kari. Hey, Kari. How are you?
Hey, girl. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you. It's just so much fun to always talk to you. I love talking to you, and I love learning from you so much. So tell us a little bit. What is gray area?
Well, the gray area can mean many things. And when we're talking about drinking, it's the space in between someone who is socially drinking and somebody who is severely abusing. It's that gray area. We've been led to believe like unless you have a problem with drinking, it's either black or white. And so there's this huge gray area that about 50% of the population that consumes alcohol is in. But when we're talking about the gray areas of life in general, we could talk about we're not living in the fullest potential. We're living in this mediocre, like, it's as good as it'll get. I'm doing okay. I appear as though I have it all together. And I'm just kind of trudging along, but you're not really living at this high level that you know you're capable of living. And so we're trying to figure out how to close that gap. So
Mm.
that's really like, and a lot of us, we ebb and flow through life where we're really super high on feeling really great. And there's other times that we feel super low. And when we're in that kind of in the fog, that's living in the gray.
Okay, so gray area could be in many areas, but today we're going to talk specifically of the habits of a person that lives in a gray area. And I think it's important for everybody here on the call to know that we're specifically going to talk about something that we usually don't like talking about, right? And it's about drinking alcohol, and how we use alcohol to de-stress so many times. And it becomes a really habit. And, Carrie, I was just talking to Carrie and I told her, January usually typically is a gray area, right? Because it's
Well,
just January where it's a dry January. I think that's a gray area. So
mhm.
what brought you to specialize in that area, in coaching and working with the gray area challenges?
Well, it's funny because I just ran a group in Clubhouse the other day, and I said, "Is it dry January or more like damp January?" Because a lot of times people start off really well with New Year's resolutions, and by mid-January they're like, "Yeah, screw that. It's too hard. I'm just going to go back to doing my thing." So it's a real thing. Dry January has been around for a long time, but it's been mostly popularized in the past 10 years or so. But really, when we're talking about someone who is using alcohol in a negative way, so if it is somebody that's drinking every so often, okay, no big deal. But it always comes down to, why are you drinking? Are you trying to escape from something? Is it a bad day that you're trying to forget about or numb? Is it that, sometimes we drink to celebrate, and that's pretty normalized in society, that this is what we do to celebrate, is we drink. And it means a lot of things to a lot of people. And while
Mhm.
drinking alcohol, I'm not opposed to someone drinking alcohol. I'm not on a crusade against anyone drinking. I know that people can and do, and they don't have an issue with it, and no big deal. If it works for them, that's great. But for some people, it's really about the reason why they're drinking. And again, it goes back to, is it because you're trying to escape or numb or not feel? And that's when we want to stop and just question the drink and question, why are we using it? What is the reason behind that? And just a pause. So one of my recommendations is, if you are starting to ask yourself, gosh, am I drinking too much? And how much is too much? And, can I cut back? And I do try to cut back, but then I end up going back to drinking just as much or even more. These are the times, or the situations, where you can just take a step back and ask yourself, pause and say, why am I drinking? How is it serving me? How is it making me better as a person? How is it working? How is it not working? So it's really just literally questioning the drink, and taking a pause to look at the thinking, look at the things that are going on in your mind. What is the story that you're creating for yourself on why you want to even have a drink? So it's all of that encompassing. But the thing of it is, a lot of people who have resistance to even question the relationship with alcohol, it's because they're so afraid of being without it. And this is what keeps people stuck in the gray areas. They're like, how am I going to have a social life if I'm not drinking?
It's
How am
so
I going?
true.
Yeah.
It's so true, and I'm thinking about it. How many times do you go and you spend some time with your friends, right?
Mhm.
And you really wanna do a healthy lifestyle diet, which means I don't want to drink sugar. I don't want to have sugar in my diet. I don't want to have carbs in my diet. But we all know that wine is got a lot of sugar in it. And so you get together with your friends, and the first thing, there is wine there, and you say to yourself, well, I don't want, what's stopping me to say, I'm not drinking right now. I'm good. Why is that a problem? Because I feel like it happens to me many times. I don't want to drink, but I don't feel comfortable, of saying, yeah, no, thank you. I don't need that.
Yeah, this is something that's really real. So I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of people feel that way where they are taking a break, especially with dry January. This is such a perfect discussion right now as we end dry January. Is that what we hear a lot often is, well, why aren't you drinking? Is something wrong with you? And right away we take it so personally, like, oh, they might think I have a problem, and what if I really do have a problem? And again, that's what keeps us stuck. So some simple things that someone can try when they're going out to socialize is just to say, you know what, I'm good for now, but thanks. And if you just like, I'm good, I'll stick with my club soda for now, but thanks. And if you even say for now, like that's the key, right? Because if you say for now, they're like, oh, okay, well then, I'll come back to her or him and I'll ask again. And here's the other kind of surprise, Ronit, is that most often people don't care that you're not drinking. It's more about how we perceive how they think about us, right?
Yeah.
So there's a quote, and I don't know who says it, and I'll probably butcher it anyways, but I'm going to try it. It says, "I'm not who I think I am, and I'm not who you think I am. I am who you that I think that you think I am." Right?
Ah,
So
it's
it's
so true.
yeah, it's along
It-
those same lines. We worry so much what other people are going to think, and honestly, nobody cares. Nobody cares. But we get so tied to the fact that we must be drinking in order to socialize. So one of the easiest things to do is to bring your own drink if you're going someplace, if you can, and if it's someplace you can't, prepare ahead of time in your mind what it is that you can order at the restaurant or at a friend's house. Make sure that they have an alternative club soda with a lime, for example. Most people won't even know that you're not drinking. There's tons of non-alcoholic choices out there, non-alcoholic beers and de-alcoholized wines. There's so many things on the market right now. We're so lucky because there's such an influence of new products that are coming to market that makes it super easy for when you do want to take a break from drinking or you want to take a step back and even moderate. There's so many awesome choices now.
Oh, I am totally with it. I myself like to drink my bubbly, my soda water, and it has that little flavor in it, and it's so great. And but I have to say, there were times where I'm decided that I am just not drinking. I decided to get off alcohol, get off beer, and usually it is. But sometimes I think about it. I really love drinking. Like I love the taste of alcohol and I love the taste of wine. And I know that I would not be drinking more than 2 glasses of wine, right?
Mhm.
So when I come back from work, which right now I am at work, I am at work 24/7.
Yeah,
And yeah, here's
I
my
got it.
office, here's my studio, here's my living room, here's my kitchen, all in one place. And one of the greatest things that I feel like is kind of fun to do with Bill, my husband, is to crack a bottle of wine and have 2 glasses of wine and even 1 glass of wine a night. And I feel like when I do that, Kari, when I do that, I feel like some sort of a ritual that goes into it
Oh yeah.
and some sort of it symbolizes that it's the end of the night and the end of the day, and I'm celebrating with my wine and relaxing, right?
Mhm.
So that's how it feels to me. And I don't feel like I abuse it. I feel really good about that. However, I know for a fact that it completely graze and cloud my thinking. Physically, it clouds
Mhm.
my thinking. The problem is that, what happens if it becomes more than 1 glass of wine or more than two? Now you don't sleep good at night.
Yeah.
You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens
Yeah.
so easily. Yeah. Well, a couple things with that. Wine, is a depressant. I don't want to sugarcoat that wine's good for you or bad for you or whatever. That's not my job to do that. People say, "Oh, wine's good for you." Well, it's the resveratrol that's in the wine that is considered good, and they have an over-the-counter pill you can take, right? But when we talk about wine as a depressant, the reason that's why it works, right? That's why it works. It helps you relax, it helps you decompress from your day. but so does chamomile tea, right? There's other things that we can be doing. So while the actual act of having a glass of wine, it's the whole experience, the whole romance behind it. It's like you said, it's the, opening the bottle of wine, smelling it, pouring it in the glass, swirling it around. It's like all the experience that goes with it. Trust me, I know wine was my jam. Like that was my thing. So I totally understand the romance behind it. But the real issue, and it's not even an issue, it's the meaning that we're putting on that experience that we have to start to question, like, what is it about the experience that I'm actually enjoying? Because there is something like a ritual around it. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, any of our behaviors, whether they're good or bad, are learned behaviors. Learned behaviors are habits that we do repetitively. And it's something that becomes this habitual process that we do in our mind, and it becomes a familiar pattern. So I always use the analogy of driving a car. And I'm sure all of us have the same grocery store that we go to all the time. Our car even knows how to get there. We don't even have to think about it when we're driving. We don't have to use our brain so much. We're on autopilot getting to the store. It's the same way when we drink wine or drink anything. It's the habit of coming home, uncorking the bottle, pouring it while we're having it while we're making dinner. We have another glass with dinner, we have a glass after dinner, and it becomes this habitual process that something is so familiar to us. So the fact that we learned this behavior means that we can unlearn the behavior and we can replace it with something that will serve us better. So it's literally stopping the thinking and the feeling and looking at what it is about this that is making me want it. What is it about this meaning that I'm attaching to it that's creating this feeling for me that I want to escape, or I want to numb out, or I want to, it's the only way I can celebrate. It's the stories that we create about this experience versus the real experience that we're having. So it's again, this is, I'm giving you like the overlay viewpoint here,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
a lot of digging that out of what's really going on. There's a limiting belief that's driving some of this behavior in the first place, but it's also part of a learned habit. And again, a habit is nothing more than something that we repeatedly do over and over again, like driving a car. Like we don't have to think about putting our foot on the gas or the brake. We just do it because we know how
Right.
to do it. It's the
Right.
same thing. We go into autopilot, even with our drinking. So
Now,
yeah.
what does it take? What does it take to recognize that suddenly those, I mean, because it's a problem, it's a big problem, especially in our industry. We
Mhm.
work so much, we work very late, we are
Yeah.
in such a high all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on a stage nonstop. As stylists, we run like chickens with no heads all the time, and the energy in the salon usually typically is just so high. You're on, I don't know, you're on adrenaline all the time, and then you come home, right?
Mhm.
And of course we open the bottle of wine, or we get a little, I mean, I love my bourbon every once in a while, and before you know it, we're on the second drink.
Yeah.
And you know very well there's some people there that can hold their liquor so well. I don't know about you, Kari, but for me, you better cut me off on the second martini, or I am so done. But
Yeah.
even but that's the thing. I mean, when you, what's the problem of drinking one or two? What's wrong with drinking one or two a night? And when it's becoming a problem.
Well, you just answered your own question. So when I first started questioning my relationship with alcohol, I remember asking, at the time I worked in the medical field, I worked in aesthetics, and I had one of my patients in the chair, and I said, hey, I knew she was a therapist and that specialized in addictions. And so I was asking for a friend, me. And I said, hey, I have a friend that likes to drink wine every night, and I'm getting a little concerned about how much she's drinking. So I wanted to be able to talk to her about that, but I wanted to ask you first, like, how do I know if it's a problem for her? And, she knew damn well it was me. So she leans in really close and she said, if she thinks it's a problem, it's a problem.
Now,
So
why
I,
is it? Why is it? How does it show up as a problem? Because I can like I can see my friends and I talk to them, and they say, Ronit, I work really hard.
yeah.
I love having my glass of wine at night.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love having a second glass of wine. What's so wrong about this? I mean, I'm listening to my mother. My mother, she will just, Ronit, red wine is good for you. It's good for you. You need to drink it. Lowers your cholesterol. You want to drink it. And I'm like, Mom, it's a myth. It's not really the truth. So what are the disadvantage of being in the gray zone?
Well, here's the other thing too. So while there is studies out there that will show, hey, wine is good for you, and it's oh no, Ronit's left. Oh, there she is. I thought you left for a second. So while there are studies out there that will show that, you know, having a glass of wine is good for you, right? We can find any study we want to that it helps reduce cholesterol and heart disease, and it's good for you and everything. It comes down to the resveratrol that's in wine that is considered good. And like I said, red resveratrol is found in other things too, but we can also just take a supplement for it. So, you know, that's like one of those, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, anything we want to find a study on, we could probably find that it's good for you. The hard truth is this: there's no amount of alcohol that's considered healthy. That is the bottom line. I mean, there's no sugar coating around that. But you asked me a question, I want to answer it honestly. Again, I'm not against anybody drinking. I'm not on a crusade against anybody drinking. I think that if somebody can have a glass of wine here and there once a night, whatever it is, and it's not a big deal, and it's not showing any side of negative impact on that person, then it's probably okay for that person, right? But as soon as it starts to become a problem, or it starts to negatively affect them or detract from their goals, or they're waking up feeling like crap, or they're missing deadlines for work, or if they just overall feel like crap, or they're missing out on their kids' play or soccer game and they're not paying attention with their spouse, whatever the thing is, then it's a problem. So I worked at the height of my drinking. Well, when I first started drinking a lot, I was in the hospitality business, which is very similar to in the beauty business, right? So I worked a lot of hours. I worked in the evening. I didn't get off till 10, 11 at night. And there was no way I was going right home to bed. It was like I needed that downtime. Like, you know, we're up all day and it's like, go, 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 go. And then you need that downtime. Well, I didn't want to just go home and go to bed. So I did the same thing. I'd go out, have a couple of drinks after work, and it became this habit. That's how it all started for me, was when I worked in the restaurant business. So I get that. I get that it's like we want that release. So while there's nothing wrong with having a drink here and there, if somebody can do that and there is no problems, then there's no problems. If there's no problems, there's no problems. But as soon as it starts to become, again, you'll know. Like, I don't have to tell somebody. I can't tell anybody. They already know the answer. It already lives inside of them. They already know what the thing is. So for me, if all I do is plant a seed for somebody to start questioning their relationship with alcohol, to just start paying attention to why they're using it, oh my gosh, I've done my job. Because that's what happened with me. I had a few people plant some seeds for me, and I let that seed kind of sit there and stew for a couple of years before I actually did anything about it. So, you know, I quit drinking 4.5 years ago. I haven't had any alcohol since, and my life has completely changed. And I don't think that's by coincidence.
Now, how
Because,
has that changed? Like what was
oh,
the biggest? And I'm sure you didn't decide it. Is that what happened? Did you get up in the morning one day, says, "Okay, I'm done. I'm quitting"?
no. What happened was we all have our enough, right? So, you know, there's, I forget, I think it's Tony Robbins who has a quote about it's either desperation or inspiration that makes us want to have a change. And for me, it wasn't desperation, but I had my enough, what I call my enough. So I had been questioning my relationship with alcohol for a couple of years. I had that seed planted. You know, I was drinking too much from time to time. I'd wake up. I knew that I wasn't an alcoholic, but I knew that I was more than a social drinker. You know, I had it all together. People looked at me from the outside and was like, wow, she's got it all together. She drives a nice car. She lives in a nice house. You know, she has a great job. She does well for herself, blah, blah, blah. But inside, I was feeling really terrible about myself. I had no self-love. I had no self-confidence. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't even record myself The fact that I'm even like I speak publicly and I record myself now is like crazy because I never thought that would happen. But this is where I was. I was so in my head about how, ugly I was or terrible I was and all the self-talk that we do. So what happened is I partied all day. It was 4th of July, 2016. And I was at my friend's house and we drank from 12 o'clock noon till way into the evening. I jumped in the pool with my bra and my underwear on because I was too drunk to put on my bathing suit. And I came home from that evening and my then 23-year-old son was in the kitchen and he was like, wow, you're really trashed. And I was like, yeah. And then I had some things to say to him about that. And it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me because the next day he said, you don't remember what you said to me last night, do you, Mom? And I said, no. And my husband kicked me under the table or kicked him under the table and says, don't you dare tell your mother. And he said, no, I'm telling her. And I said, tell me what? And he said, you don't remember what you said to me, do you? And I said, I don't. And he told me, Ronit. And I can't tell this story even now, even all these years later, without getting really teary-eyed because it's something that no mother should ever say to their child. I was devastated. And that was my enough. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to not remember what I said to my kid and let alone say the things that I said to him. So it was the next day I decided I need to figure this out. I need to figure this out. And you know what, Roni? There was nobody like me that I was aware of back then. And the only thing that I knew of was to go to AA. And I didn't want to go to AA. I didn't want to say that I was an alcoholic because I didn't think I was. But I went. And I did. I went for several months. And I will say a few things about AA. It was an awesome program. It helped me. It gave me the tools that I needed. It helped give me some insights. I did the 12 steps. I got a sponsor. I read the big book. I did it all. But I had a really hard time saying, hi, I'm Kari and I'm an alcoholic because I didn't believe it. And I knew then, just like I know now, that anything we attach I am to becomes your embedded truth in your subconscious. It becomes your identity.
I'm so happy you're saying that because it's so true. The minute you associate yourself with a picture, and it's become embedded in your brain, and it sticks to your brain for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I never even thought about it that way, Kari.
Yeah.
You know, I am an alcoholic, and every time I hear it, in the movies and over again, I'm thinking to myself, it must be a good thing to admit to it. So that's the first step, and that's why they say it.
Yes. Yeah. It's the first step to admit that you're powerless over alcohol. And that was honestly, like, even though I did the 12 steps, I kind of BS'd my way through it with my sponsor because I'm like, I'm not powerless over anything. I have the most greatest power that lives within me, right? Well, I'm a believer too, so there's that. But I really felt like I had such an issue with saying I'm an alcoholic, and that was my story. And again, I didn't believe that I was an alcoholic. So while AA is an amazing program, it's amazing. It helps millions of people. It wasn't a good fit for me because I was in the gray area, but I didn't know what I was. So this is an important part of my story is after I left AA, after a few months, I kind of walked around here. I'm alcohol free, but I'm not happy. Why? Well, I still didn't figure out the reason why I was drinking. So I ended up working with a coach, and it was a guy coach. It was a male coach, and he literally rocked my world. He is the one who planted so many seeds for me. He's the one who took me out of this low self-esteem and self-confidence. And he was so hard on me, by the way. He was so hard on me. It was almost like he picked me up and he would we did this over Zoom because he lives in Arizona, but he would pick me. It was almost like he picked me up and would shake me and was like, you're going to do this. You're going to record yourself live on Facebook and you're going to do it. I'm like, no, I can't do it. He's like, you're going to do it. He pushed me so hard, Rooney. It was because of him that I'm doing this now. He planted 3 seeds for me. Talk about seed planting. He said, you're going to be a coach. You're going to start your own business and you're going to share your story about your drinking with with everyone. And I was like, no, no, and hell no. I'm not doing that. And it was literally like not even a year later, I was ready to start something at my church. It didn't work out. Long story there. And my girlfriend said, Kari, you're already helping so many people. Why don't you just start something on your own? And by this point, a lot of people that I was friends with in AA had left and asked me to coach them. And so I thought, I could really be a coach, like a real coach. So I became a certified coach and I started learning all the processes and all the modalities that go with it. I have a couple specialties that I specialize in. And I realized, wow, this could be a real business. And before you knew it, I was, had my website up, I had social media channels going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be a real thing. So that's kind of the journey and how I got from where I was to
where
now.
you are today. And now you're coaching so many people and so many companies and helping so many people realize that they're in the gray area. And I'm thinking about it, and what the one thing that I was listening to you and you said something, I'm thinking to myself, you're talking about your relationship with alcohol, and I'm thinking how it becomes a terrible relationship with your children, how it impacts your sex life, how it impacts your relationship with your husband, with your friends, with work, your career. It really becomes, even if you're not at that point that you cannot not function, but just enough, because it disrupt your clarity, it disrupt your most potential of what you can do every day. There's so many minuses to it. So
there is, and it is a relationship, and I wanted to grab that really quick because it's a relationship.
Yeah.
Wine was everything for me. It was like, I used to smoke. For those that don't know, I smoked for a long time. So I would have a cigarette in one hand, a glass of wine in the other, and I'd be like, I have a relationship with both of these things. And neither one of them are good. I did quit smoking first though, which by the way was harder than drinking. For anybody who smokes, they know this to be true. It was really hard. But here's the thing. It's like, again, I trained myself to smoke and I trained myself to drink. And I was like, well, if I trained myself to learn it, guess what? I can unlearn it. But it wasn't enough just to quit drinking. It wasn't enough, which is the thing. Like, yes, I coach men and women that are in the gray area, and particularly with alcohol. Yes, that's what I do. But here's the secret. Here's the key. It's not even about the alcohol, right? It's not about the habits. It's always what's underneath all of that. What is keeping you from reaching this highest potential that you want to go? Like, I remember thinking, I know I was
maybe giving up, maybe quitting before even trying.
Yeah.
So what do you do? So what's the things that you got to do in order to move from gray to no gray? What do you do?
Well, it is definitely about, I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Who's there? Is that
my husband just walked in?
I told you that's what drive you to drink, because they're everywhere, because this is what it is right now. Everybody is everywhere, right?
So I'm gonna call him out because he just got out of the shower and he's naked and he's like, and I have a mirror next to me and I know he's thinking, oh God, I hope they can't see me. And I'm like, you're good. Anyways, I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to kind of envision the whole thing, how it works. And are you live now?
Good. He left the room. But yeah, so what do you do? I think was your question, right? What do you do when you find yourself in that situation of like, okay, what is happening with me? Well, first thing is, if you're already asking yourself some questions, like, way to go, because that is the first thing, is to have some awareness around what it is. Like, again, questions are good. When you start asking really good questions, you get good answers. So it's not so much about like, oh gosh, I wish I could, figure out how to quit or cut back or whatever. It's like, again, it's why am I doing these things? Why am I overeating? Why am I staying in a relationship that, they treat me like crap? Why am I always distracting myself and not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Why am I reaching for the wine? It doesn't just have to be about drinking. It's, why are we avoiding? What's the avoidance about? So it's really starting to get honest with yourself. So that's the first thing. But here's anybody who coaches with me, whether they're in my 30-day program or a 12-week or anything in between, it's you have to have an established huge reason why. I call it the big why. What's your big why? Because if you don't have a solid reason that is deep value, that is so meaningful to you, you're not going to be successful. You will end up falling off. And the other thing is not counting days. It drives me nuts when someone says, oh, I haven't drank in like 5 days. I got 5 days.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. If you're counting like dry January, let me talk about dry January for a minute.
Yeah, it's the same thing. 30 days dry January.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it's like they're living for February 1st so they can go get hammered.
Yeah.
And then what's the point? So it's like, while it's good to take that break, I'm not saying that for those that participate don't get any benefit, because I guarantee that they've seen some sort of benefit by this time, right? If they haven't had any alcohol, they feel better, they got better skin, they have more energy, like they just overall feel better. But when you are white knuckling it and holding on to reach February 1st, you're not doing yourself any favors. It's like going on a crash diet, and as soon as the diet's over, you're like, yeah, screw it, I'm going to go back and eat what I want. It's the same concept. It does not do you any good.
It's kind of the same radical. It's a radical behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's let me go ahead and do something totally radical just for a short period of time, and then I go back to the normal. So you really haven't done anything. So why do you do just dry? There's a lot of great things out there that you can do. Detox.
Yeah.
Fast for a few days. It's really good for you to fast for a few days, and then you go back into your routine. I'm thinking, so if we all committed to not drinking and not be in the gray area, what's the benefits that we get from that? And I think sometimes we just have to know about these benefits, and is it worth it to do something like that?
Yeah, there's so many benefits, but I'll give you the top ones that I hear all the time and that I found for myself. The first one is feeling like you can actually think, like the fog is lifted. The best way to describe it, and I had one client last year, he described it so well. He's like, Kari, I've had allergies my whole life. And he said, and I just assumed this is how it was always supposed to be, like I couldn't breathe or whatever. And he said, and then finally I got on allergy medication. I'm like, wow, this is how it's really to feel really good. And we can use that same concept. Like if you've been sick with the flu and then when you finally get better, you're like, oh, thank God. Like it feels so good to be feeling really good again. Well, it's the same thing when we stop drinking or we take a break from drinking for a significant period of time. It's like we've been in this fog the whole time, and all of a sudden the fog's lifted and we can see for miles. And you're like, this is what I've been missing the whole time, like living color. Like I can see and I can think and I can actually process my thoughts and I can be quick. And, so the clarity by far is the number one thing that I hear. The second thing is, and it takes a little bit of time, but sleep is the other big one. We start to sleep better because your circadian rhythm is so screwed up with alcohol. It helps you to fall asleep, but guess what? That crap will wake you back up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because it's messing with your whole neurotransmitters. Next thing you know, you got to go to the bathroom and now your mind is and you're up for hours. So your sleep becomes better. Your skin, your nails, you can lose some weight. Not everybody lose weight right away though. And here's why, because alcohol has so much sugar. And when we eliminate the alcohol, we tend to want to replace it with some other sugar substance. So some people get disappointed that they don't lose like 30 pounds in the first month. You'll lose a couple pounds, but you got to watch what you're eating too. And I always say, listen, having a couple bites of dark chocolate, who cares? Like have the damn chocolate, right? It's not a big deal. So, that's another thing. Sex, by the way, people think that they, you went there. I'm going to go there. You talked about sex earlier. Who doesn't like it, right? So let's talk about it. So here's the thing. A lot of people think that they have to drink in order to have good sex. I guarantee that if you and your partner did not have any alcohol and you like just had a beautiful like connection, your sex will be on fire. I promise you. You are more alert. You don't have to relax. If you need to have a substance in order to relax enough to be with your partner, then there's something else going on there. But when you truly have a connection with somebody, your sex life will be better.
That's interesting. I
So,
never even thought about it. I'm sure
yeah.
that the wine makes you tired and lose motivation and not do anything.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but I can see how that disturb any kind of mojo that you want to have these
Mm-hmm.
days. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good reason alone to quit drinking. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, again, who doesn't like sex? But there's so many other things. I mean, just, we're so afraid about being present, being like fully incapacitated, like fully being aware and present with the people around you, your friends, your family, whatever. But there's something really important about having your full mental capacities. I can't even describe how amazing that is. And then everything else starts to click. It's like, then you can start to really have gratitude. You can have that full gratitude that, we talk about all the time, like, oh, we just got to be grateful. And some people who don't get it or like, yeah, whatever, that's like BS crap. But when you can eliminate all the excess out of your life and you can really be connected with who you are, and another little trick that I do is placing my hand over my heart whenever I think about anything that is meaningful to me, and I get connected with myself, and that's part of investing in these good daily habits is part of those tools of disruption that we can use. So I have a whole tool belt full of tools of disruption, is what I call them, that help us with these negative behaviors, that help us move through the gray area so much easier and faster and with more control and power. And
so
that gives us confidence.
I like to do a couple things right now, Kari. First of all, I want to kind of redefine the gray tonic. The gray tonic is we talking about that middle place where you're drinking but you're not drinking, and by drinking and not drinking, you're actually drinking, and it's not good for you because it's not giving you any benefits. And that's the gray tonic. However, the gray area is portrayed to everything in your life that you are in the gray area, where it's foggy, where you're not so sure why you're doing the things that you're doing, why you're here, and what should you do, to get more clarity. And so, in order to get more clarity in life, your biggest recommendations, being a life coach and an executive coach, is to understand your why behind it.
Absolutely.
And
Be number one.
being clear on not really doing the things that you don't like and that you don't want, and so, which are the reason that drives you to drink to begin with. So maybe get, and is that what you do in your program? Now tell me about your program, because I hear your program really transform people's lives. So tell me about that.
Well, I have two. So I have a quick track program, if you will. It's the Try Dry for 30. And that's literally, you're just trying to go dry for 30 days. So it's sort of like dipping your pinky toe in the pool and just testing the waters. So that's an online course. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid coaching program. So it's in a group format. So I have online videos and modules that they go through. And then every week we have an hour coaching call together as a group. And it's so great because they all bond together and they get so much out of it with each other. The energy's great. So that's the Try Dry for 30. And then I have my 12-week signature Question the Drink program. And that's a deep dive. That is one-on-one concierge service.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
clients get me 24 hours a day via Voxer. And that's a more deep dive. So I start my one-on-one clients, with a very intense, it's called the intellect scan. It's an assessment that we look at the 13 traits, and what that does, that allows me to see them for who they are, and it helps them to see them for who they are. And with that, we walk through all the modules that I do in the try dry, but in a longer period and more in depth. And that allows that client to really walk through all the things. And we work through a lot of all the kind of stuff that's been going on in their life and work through their limiting beliefs. And they really have a tremendous impact on their life. And the best compliment I hear that I actually heard recently from one of my clients is, not only is this program helping me, but it's helped my entire family. So it's a trickle down effect. Once somebody feels like, if it's like, you heard the saying of, and I coach men too, but the saying about, if mama doesn't feel good, nobody's feeling good. It's like, if it helps one person in the family, it does start to trickle down and affect everyone in the family, including the kids, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But more than anybody, I think it helps you. And thank you, Scott, for coming into our program today. I hope this was really, really helpful today. We all discussed this in so many ways that that we all want to just commit to being healthier.
Yeah.
And I think for stylists, salon owners, if we want to feel amazing to begin with every day, I think the first thing to do is a fog out of your gray area and commit to be healthy, like commit to have a healthy body and a healthy mind. If drinking is the first step where we can get out of it, then I think that's where we need to start. So you know what? Let me tell you, I am no longer in the gray. I'm in so clear. I am so clear. And I'm committing to really get off the sugar and whatever sugar is in. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think Seth Godin always say he is a plant-based individual. Everything that he does is plant-based, which I tried. I tried to be. So I think we've been when we were in Rio together, I was completely plant-based, and so we were not drinking. We were so clear for a whole year, and it was amazing. But yet, even though we did it for 1 year, we got off the wagon and back into, the same shenanigans.
Yeah.
So I think what did you say? Tony Robbins says he loves zigzag, and he says, we all zigzag, and it's okay to zigzag. Just come back to the light. Come back to the light. So I think it's like, if you can drink 1 glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine, 3 glasses of wine a week, and you're good with that, it's great. But if anything more than that, and you start questioning yourself, is it good enough or is it not good? Is it serving me or isn't? It's time to invest in eating right and have really good rituals. So Kari, what do you do for rituals? How do you make yourself happier? How do you co-op, if not with alcohol, how do you co-op with anxiety, stress, COVID?
Well, a couple things. So one of my tools, my go-to tools, is called the SABRE. And SABRE stands for stop, acknowledge, breathe, embrace, and redirect. So that's what I do whenever I find myself super stressed out, is I first say stop out loud. And whenever we say stop out loud, it immediately cuts off our thinking. It gives us enough of a pause to take a step back. And then we can look and we can acknowledge our thinking, right? Which is the A in SABRE. So stop, acknowledge. And after I look at my thinking, I'm like, what is it that I'm actually thinking about? And what is the story that I'm creating about this right now? Because if the thoughts don't feel good, they're usually not true. And it's some made up crap that we do to ourselves because our brain doesn't like open loops. So we always have a meaning on something. And then the B in SABRE is breathe. Breath by far is the fastest, easiest way for you to move out of this state into a calm state. So just taking a couple deep inhales and exhales through your nose, or box breathing, or the 4-7-8 method. There's so many good breathing rituals out there right now you can look up. I have a couple videos on my YouTube channel, but any type of just deep breathing, even if you just do it right now in your chair, you immediately feel a difference because it lowers your nervous, it calms your nervous system into a parasympathetic state, which is of rest and digest, and that's what we want. So stop, acknowledge, and breathe, and then embrace the moment. Like, embrace where you are and know that, you know, whatever's going on is probably going to pass, and that give yourself the allowance and the grace to be okay and not to feel okay. And that's the thing, like, we don't always have to fix our feelings. We can sit with them. We can be okay with not being okay. And then redirect is, you want to refocus to something that is going to serve you, but we have to start with gratitude with that. So again, going back to placing your hand over your heart, finding something to be grateful for, and redirecting your energy to something else. So that's
I
Saber.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love Saber.
Thank
Um,
you.
I think that having a gratitude as a
Mhm.
routine every morning, if you
Yeah.
start gratitude every morning, I'm a big believer in gratitude. I've been conducting gratitude breathing sessions for the past 5 years, and I literally don't miss a day of gratitude. So intentionally, I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I write about gratefulness and what are the things so that holds me into it, and it immediately change and start the day with having a positive look. So even if you get something negative, you can practice Saber, and if you practice Saber, if you get into the practice, it just maybe becomes a second nature.
Yeah, and it does. It's one of those things that takes me longer to explain it than it does when you go through it in real time. And so a lot of times, when people first hear about the Saber, or my clients, and they try it, they might only be able to do the A, and the B. You might only be able to say stop, acknowledge, and breathe. And if that's all you get through, then so be it, because that alone will help you move through those moments. And even, like, today I had 4 pieces of chocolate. 4, like, not even 2, 4. And I could have used Saber, but I didn't. But if I would have, I would have said, stop. Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is it about the chocolate that's pulling you right now? And it wasn't that I was trying to escape or anything like that. It was just like I was bored, and
Yeah,
here it was. And again, I didn't actually use my own methodology in that
yeah,
moment, because I didn't care. I just wanted to eat it. So sometimes that happens too. And if we end up, doing something that we consider we probably shouldn't have done it, who cares? You know what? Get back on, and who cares? Like, let it
and
go.
it exactly. I'm a profit expert. That's what I do. We
Yeah.
coach we coach profitability, and I think like that goes into life as well. If
Yeah.
you want to have
So
profitable
true.
in your life, it's not only about creating wealth, but it's creating of an amazing times. I mean, we have uh, amazing amount of time to create so many great things in life.
Yeah.
And so what can you do to know exactly how to take advantage of the time so you can be happier? And I
Well,
think
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I have a little analogy about time, right? So
yes,
okay, so profit. We know that if, for example, dividends, like if we put money into the bank, that account will grow with dividends if we put enough deposits in. So
yeah,
like the little bit of deposits, we talk about profit, profit first. We know that we have to have our buckets. We have to have certain categories for things, and then our profit will grow, right? If we're diligent about that. And it's
same
about
thing for me.
yeah, it's consistency, right?
Yeah,
So daily habits, I have my other little methodology is everyday effort equals expansion. So what we do every single day, even if it's the smallest amount of effort, will grow. It will help you expand in your life. So when we talk about negative behaviors, what we're trying to do is we're trying to squeeze those out, add in some positive behaviors, such as breathing, meditation, praying, cold showers, journaling, gratitude, sitting with yourself, just being one with
just
yourself,
sitting. Yeah,
like exercise. I mean, gosh, the list goes on, right? Exercise, if we move our body, that's the other thing. Tony Robbins talks about this a lot too, that if we just move in our chair, like if we just started moving now in our chair, it would change our whole
being.
state. it just changes everything, right? This is why Tony's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's always like, yeah, make some noise and jump. It's like when we move our
Yeah.
body, it
Yeah.
changes our state. So some of these things are disruptive, right? They're disruptive tools. And so a lot of my methodology and what I teach is about how can we change our state? How can we move out of a negative state into a more positive one that's going to serve us? So when we do these little daily deposits of everyday effort, it
Yeah.
expands us, just like your profit.
Yeah, I love dancing. I think we should. Anything you do every day and make it consistent. You got to
Yeah.
have your boundaries, and you got to bring happiness into your life. I was listening, or I actually took a course with Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, who is a positive psychologist, and
Mm.
she's saying, happiness is a practice.
Yes, it
It's
is.
not something that you suddenly, okay, I have a smiley face, I'm happy. How can you be happier? So she says,
Yeah.
well, if you can practice this one thing, and she says, you do 3 things that you love compared to something that you're not so
Mm-hmm.
into. So 3 things every day. Look at that ratio. 3 things that you love doing, that you want to do, versus one thing that you don't really want to do. I don't like doing laundry, but if I have to do laundry, I'll make sure that right next to it there's just 3 things that I love doing. And that's how you practice happiness, and it becomes a practice, and it becomes part of your body. It's like, that's how I can be happier.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
well,
love
listen,
music.
Kari, this was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so much for
You're
all
welcome.
your lessons. So, how do we find you? Where do our audience know that when we want to start, if we want to start tomorrow, not only have a dry January, but have a dry year, where do we
Yeah.
go?
Well, everything is on my website, graytonic.com. It's GRAYTONIC. And I wanted to give your listeners and viewers a gift. If they email me,
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
Kari at graytonic.com. I will send you an ebook that I only have for my paying clients that I want to give to your viewers if they would like it. It's called Drink This. And Drink This is an ebook that has a lot of alternatives that you can try, as well as my favorite non-alcoholic beer, spirits, and wines. There is such a thing as non-alcoholic spirits. So I have crafted this really beautiful ebook, and I would love to give that to you as a gift. So if you want that, just email
Thank
me, Kari,
you.
and just say I saw you on Ronit's show, and I'll make
Oh,
sure.
I love that. That's great. So,
Yeah,
huddle time with Ronit. Anybody
yeah,
who would love to get that ebook that has recipes of great drinks, and
yeah, it's really
um,
fun.
awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Kari. I will
Yeah,
make sure that we have the link in our chat box, and you guys can refer to it anytime you want to.
yep. And all my
So,
information's on there. The Work With Me page has information about my coaching programs, and there's blogs and videos, and you'll find a slew of things. So yeah, yeah, and
that's
I love it.
great. That's good. Well, good. Thank you so much for being here today. This was amazing.
Yeah. And oh, and they can find me on Clubhouse. I'm starting to host rooms every day on Clubhouse. So
Um,
Clubhouse is like my big thing now. I'm like, oh, I
I
love Clubhouse.
You know what? I just started an account, and I just got invited on Clubhouse. I can't
Oh,
wait to explore
it's
that.
it's obsessive, let me tell you.
I heard. I
Yeah,
heard the pussy. I think that's the reason why I'm not going there yet, because I know
yeah.
it's just gonna be another diversion. But
Boundaries, boundaries.
boundaries have to be some at some point. All right, guys, listen. This has been an amazing episode. I feel like we're totally getting out of the gray water, and join with me, everybody. Let's get out of the gray water. Let's make our life so much better without drinking alcohol. Yes. So for anybody here, I'm challenging you. Don't go and do a dry January, do a dry year. Just go for it, and let's see what happens. And we can do together. We can hold each other accountable. Well, I'm starting right now on my clear water.
Thanks, Ronit, for having me. It was really fun.
Thank you, Kari. Hold on, don't get off that one. I'm just gonna end the broadcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.